Also, guys, today we're going to be doing part 2 of reacting to 30 unsettling true horror stories. So basically, as some of you guys know, this is going to be a long, pretty long video. So basically, make sure to get your chips, your Lay's, Doritos, drinks, and everything basically, because this is going to be an extremely long video. It's going to be over an hour. So yeah. I mean, well, after, like, the first video was, like, 4 months ago, just like last time, we're gonna be doing stars and basically rating how good they are, so basically, yeah.
I promised Mom and Dad I'd take Patricia trick-or-treating.
You're gonna take her trick-or-treating, man?
Take Patricia trick-or-treating while they handed out candy at home.
Only 5?
My little sister was 5 and obsessed with fairies, so she donned this sparkly pink costume with wings that kept getting caught on everything, while I threw on this old pirate outfit from last year. The street was packed with kids and parents. Patricia was having the time of her life, running up to every door and doing this little curtsy before asking for candy. She was being adorable, and I was absolutely enjoying myself for once, instead of feeling too cool for this stuff. Suddenly, my eyes went to a streetlight about 4 houses down. There was this tall guy, dressed exactly like Michael Myers from those horror movies, standing under it. His costume was perfect, like he'd walked straight out of the set. He stood like a mountain, peering at the rest of us.
Brian, look!
Patricia tugged on my sleeve, holding up a full-size Snickers bar.
The nice lady gave me the big candy.
That's great, Patty, I said, but I kept glancing back at the guy who was still glaring at us. We hit a few more houses. Patricia was getting excited by the hour. But every time I looked over my shoulder, the man was still there. Always the same distance behind us, never getting closer, but never falling back either.
Why isn't that man getting candy?
Patricia asked, following my gaze. I don't know, Patty. Maybe he's just watching his kids or something. I said that, but I didn't see any kids with him, and he never moved toward any of the houses. He just followed us from one house to another. By the time we'd gone 6 houses, my stomach was twisting into knots. The man hadn't said a word. He hadn't waved at anyone or done anything normal. He just stood there in that horrible mask, watching us through those empty eye holes. Come on, Patty, I said, taking her hand. Let's head back home.
But we just started. I want to get more candy.
She whined. We can come back out later with
Mom
and Dad.
They are following him.
As we turned around and started walking
why would you just go back to your home when you're following him, bro?
Footsteps behind us, mimicking ours. I glanced back to find the man trailing after us.
Ryan, you're squeezing my hand too tight.
Patricia complained. Sorry. I loosened my grip, but didn't let go. Patty, we need to walk a little faster, okay?
Why?
Just listen to me. I picked up the pace, pulling Patricia along. Behind us, the footsteps got faster, too. My heart started pounding. This wasn't my imagination. This guy was definitely following us. We were 3 blocks from home when I heard the footsteps speed up even more. I turned around and saw the man walking faster, his arms swinging at his sides. Something metallic glinted in his right hand. My eyes widened when I caught the edge. He was holding a huge butcher knife that looked just like the one from the movies. Run, I whispered to Patricia.
What?
Run! I grabbed my sister's hand and we bolted down the sidewalk. Behind us, I could hear the man break into a full sprint. Heavy boots pounded against the pavement, getting closer with each step. Patricia's fairy wings were slowing her down, catching on bushes and mailboxes. She was stumbling and trying to keep up with my longer legs.
Ryan, I can't run this fast.
The footsteps were right behind us now. I could hear his breathing through that horrible mask. We were close, really close. Just then, Patricia tripped and went down hard, scraping her knee on the concrete. She started screaming, not just from pain, but from terror. She had seen the knife too. I didn't blink, just scooped my little sister up in my arms and kept running as her fairy wings crushed against my chest. She couldn't have weighed more than 40 pounds, but my legs were on fire. The man was so close I could hear the knife cutting the air as he swung it. Luckily, our house was just a short distance apart. I ran harder than I'd ever run in my life.
Bro. Let's put this back over here.
I fumbled, slowing her down, catching on bushes and mailboxes. She was stumbling and trying to keep up with my longer legs.
Ryan, I can't run this fast.
The footsteps were right behind us now. I could hear his breathing through that horrible mask. We were close, really close. Just then, Patricia tripped and went down hard, scraping her knee on the concrete. She started screaming, not just from pain, but from terror. She had seen the knife too. I didn't blink, just scooped my little sister up in my arms and kept running as her fairy wings crushed against my chest. She couldn't have weighed more than 40 pounds, but my legs were on fire. The man was so close I could hear the knife cutting the air as he swung it. Luckily, our house was just a short distance apart. I ran harder than I'd ever run.
This clip, Michael Myers looks like he's trying to say, "Oh hell no, bro! Oh hell no!" That's why I rewind it back.
In my life, I fumbled with the door handle. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip it. When the door finally opened, I shoved Patricia inside, slamming it behind us and turning every lock. What happened? Dad rushed over from the living room where he'd been watching TV. Mom was right behind him.
They were followed.
There was a man. I gasped, still trying to catch my breath. He was following us and he had a knife. Dad's face stilled. He grabbed his baseball bat from the closet and headed for the door. Call the police, he told Mom. Dad, don't go out there. But he was already outside, bat in hand, looking up and down the street while Mom dialed 911. He came back in 5 minutes. You sure you saw him there? I nodded. The cops showed up 20 minutes later and took our statements. They searched the neighborhood, but didn't find anything. The officer said it was probably just someone's costume that scared us, that we might have overreacted. But the next morning, Dad found deep stabbing marks over his mailbox. Those were fresh cuts that definitely weren't there before Halloween night. The police came back and took photos, but they never found who did it. Patricia had nightmares for weeks after that. She'd wake up screaming and sobbing. Mom had to sleep in her room until she felt safe again. I never told my parents about the part that scared me the most, how perfectly steady he was throughout, like he'd done this before. We moved to a different neighborhood the next year. Dad said it was for a job, but I knew the real reason. Every time we drove past our old house, those knife marks were still there on the mailbox, reminding everyone that monsters sometimes wear masks and walk among us on Halloween night.
Alright, so I said that I'm gonna be reading. I give it a decent 10 out of 12 stars. Sheesh, that was decent. That was decent, bro. That was decently good. Decently good. Alright, how long have I been recording for? Only just 9 minutes, bruh. Bruh. I've been only recording for 9 minutes and I feel like I've been recording for like 30 minutes. Bruh.
I've been delivering for Domino's for about 6 months.
Only 6 months?
It was mostly campus dorms and suburban homes. Then came this one order, just past 10 p.m., for Maple Ridge Road. The address was way out, but the customer offered $50 for a large pepperoni, and I was greedy. The GPS kept glitching the whole ride, and the trees grew thicker and thicker until the road ahead was barely visible. Then, out of nowhere, the fog lifted, and a small house appeared at the end of the road. But just as I pulled into the driveway, the car jolted. Ugh, are you kidding me? I groaned as I got out and crouched next to the front wheel. A long metal screw was buried deep in the rubber, letting the air hiss out. But this wasn't some random hardware store screw. The threading looked like it belonged in a power station. I pocketed it and grabbed the pizza, figuring I'd deal with the tire situation later. The front door opened before I even made it to the porch steps. Bummer, this old guy greeted, smiling way too wide for someone expecting pizza delivery at 11. From the look of it, he was your grandfather across the street. Gray hair, thick glasses, wearing a cardigan that probably came from Sears 20 years ago. But the vibe around him was nasty. That's me, $22.50 for the large pepperoni. Wonderful. Come inside while I find my wallet, he said, stepping back to make room. Besides, sounds like you'd be here for a while. I heard a tire blow from my kitchen. It was getting chilly and I was stranded, so I followed him
You
inside.
stupid, bro.
Every wall in the
Stupid.
They're not.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
You stupid.
living
You
room was
stupid.
covered with missing child posters with those same desperate missing or have you seen me text across the top. Some looked fresh off the printer, others were sun-faded and curling at the edges like they'd been up
What's 9 plus 10? 21?
there for years. Whoa, quite a collection you have. You bet. My uncle knew them all. Very well, in fact. Your uncle was a cop? Oh, no. The old man chuckled. Way powerful than that. The way he said powerful felt suspicious. I needed to call someone and get away ASAP. I immediately dialed Jake, trying to keep my voice normal while dozens of missing kids stared down at me. Hey man, can you come pick me up? Yeah, the Maple Ridge order. Tire blew out. 20 minutes? Okay, cool. Hey, you mind if I use your bathroom while I wait? I asked, desperate for any excuse to get away. Down the hall, second door on your right. I thanked him and headed down. At the far end, a door stood slightly ajar. Through the gap, I caught glimpses of what looked like a workshop. I knew I shouldn't snoop, but boy, or a replica.
So
It was
bro, that
real,
looks
close enough
freaky,
to make anyone's
dude. That
skin
looks
crawl.
freaky.
Its purple fur was filthy,
looks freaky.
clumped with something dark and crusted. One eye dangled from a mess of wires, twitching slightly like it still wanted to see, while the other socket was just empty. Screws were scattered around the floor, like someone had been obsessively tearing Bonnie apart and putting her back together again and again. They were the same kind that blew out my tire. That's my uncle. I spun around to find him blocking the only door in the room. Gone was the friendly grandfather smile. His eyes were bloodshot and wild. I was named after him, you know. Will grinned, inching closer. Uncle Billy taught me everything before he had to disappear. Taught you what? Ways to freedom. He understood that kids like you are meant for greater things. Will picked up one of the screws and examined it like it was a precious gem. I've been following in his footsteps, helped a few find their way, gave them purpose. You've been killing kids? I finally realized the dark stains on Bonnie's head weren't rust. Freeing them, Will corrected, smiling. The animatronics make it beautiful. I looked at Bonnie's head again and saw scratches inside the jaw, like fingernails had clawed desperately at the metal, and that could have been my final mistake. Suddenly, I felt bony hands grabbing my throat. I couldn't breathe. We crashed into the workbench, making the tools fly everywhere. I ain't petite for a guy my age. 4 years on a farm gives you real
He is
muscle.
very strong.
Still, this 60-year-old was impossibly strong. He moved like he'd done this before, maybe for tens of times. Give it up, kid. You'd love it up there. He grunted,
Bro, what happened to my Wi-Fi? Bro.
squeezing harder. I drove my elbow into his nose. He gasped but didn't let go. Blood dripped down his broken nose. Still, he smiled bigger. I found a wrench from the scattered tools and swung it
Look at his
blindly
blood.
at his head. The crack echoed through the room. Will's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. I didn't check if he was breathing. Bolted straight out of the house and threw myself into my car. The engine sputtered
Good.
twice before catching.
Good.
I floored it down the gravel
Good.
driveway as the blown
Good.
tire shredded to nothing by the time I
Good.
hit the asphalt. Jake
It's
found
gonna
me in
generate
a
friction
gas
and
station
generate heat,
parking
bro.
lot
Your
20
tire's
minutes
gonna-
later, shaking uncontrollably. I told him an old guy attacked me. We rang the cops. They checked the house for hours, but couldn't find anything. Will had vanished, leaving only those posters and that horrible Bonnie head. That was 8 months ago. They never found Will. I quit the job the next day. Yet, every time I see Five Nights at Freddy merchandise, I think about those scratches in Bonnie's jaw and wonder if Will's still out
Bonnie's
there,
head.
carrying on Uncle Billy's work.
That was 11 11.3 stars. That was good. That was good, bro. Dude, that was good. 11.3 stars.
I just moved into the
amazing.
studio apartment near campus 3 weeks ago. The rent was suspiciously cheap for the area, but as a
3 weeks ago?
psychology major, I knew exactly why. The previous tenant, another psych student named David, had supposedly lost his mind studying child psychology there. He used to talk to himself, blaring Cocomelon videos all night, and claimed in his journals that he
I am feeling like I am getting addicted to Cocomelon videos. Oh, hell no. You look like you're 30 years old and you're addicted to
he
Cocomelon
felt he
videos?
was getting
Oh,
addicted to
hell
the
no.
stuff.
Oh, hell no!
David dropped out.
4K quality. I don't know, this thing can't 4K, it's just
Psychology there. He used to talk to himself, blaring Cocomelon videos all night, and claimed in his journals that he felt he was getting addicted to the stuff. David dropped out mid-semester and wasn't ever seen again. I ignored these rumors, and the first 3 nights went absolutely normal, until on the 4th, my life turned to hell. I was deep into studying developmental psychology when I heard the faint Cocomelon intro jingle playing outside my window. Some neighbor with a kid, maybe, I figured. So I plugged in earbuds and went back to my textbook. An hour passed without a pin out of place, but then I removed the earbuds.
okay, I'll stop,
I
bro.
could still hear the jingle boom. This time, I couldn't help myself. I lived on the 3rd floor, facing the quietest street in the city, usually hush at day and night alike. The jingle felt enchanting the longer it echoed, as if it were pulling me towards itself. My feet mechanically inched toward the window, and my hands flung open the curtains to find a man standing directly under my building, holding a tablet above his head. He wore a cracked plastic Cocomelon mask, with half of the face missing, showing real skin underneath. It was the tablet blasting the jingle at full volume, but what made my stomach drop was the way his shining eyes were staring directly into mine. When he saw me looking down, he tilted his head too far, like his neck wasn't attached to his body. Then, he pointed right at me and smirked.
Dang. Now kids know after watching this video, don't
I
watch
stumbled
Cocomelon.
back, heart
Watch my
racing.
videos instead.
It's just my imagination, I told myself, waited, then looked again. It was still there,
No, it's
blaring
not.
the same addictive jingle, only it was getting louder and louder. Additionally, the tablet glitched and changed clips, until the man raised it higher, angling it toward my window. I grabbed my phone and zoomed in on the screen. What I saw made my blood run cold. The video showed me studying minutes before in the studio. The angle was from above, like whoever recorded it was
He's
floating
stalking
inches
you with
away
a
while
camera
filming.
inside your
I
room.
could see my textbooks, my
Dang.
coffee mug, and everything exactly as it is right now. I slammed the curtain shut and called 911. There's a man outside my apartment, I told the dispatcher. When Officer Martinez arrived 20 minutes later, we went to the window together. The street was empty. You said he was right there? He asked, scanning the now empty sidewalk. The officer checked around the building, but as facts had it, there wasn't any trace of a human presence. The previous tenant reported similar hallucinations, Jake, until he vanished. He said, "Be careful and ring me if you ever feel like you don't want to." That night, sleep was the farthest thing from my mind. I kept checking the locks and windows. The clock had struck 4 a.m. when exhaustion finally took over, and I dozed off, only to be
4
awakened
a.m.?
minutes later to the same Cocomelon intro jingle, and it was coming from my laptop. This time it wasn't only louder, it felt closer. I spun around, peering at every inch of the space. The apartment was empty, but my door was unlocked. The glow of the laptop screen flickered across the walls.
Someone's
It wasn't the light
inside.
that froze
Someone's
my blood.
inside.
It was the man
Someone's
whom I
inside.
saw outside moments back. In the far corner, crouched low like an animal, a man stared at me with wide, glowing eyes. His lips twisted into an unnatural grin. His skin looked pale, stretched tight over sharp cheekbones, and the sound of a faint giggle escaped his throat. When my eyes locked with him, he rose slowly, bones cracking as he straightened, still smiling. "I can't stop hearing it," he whispered,
Chicken
his voice shaking
bologna.
with a mix of madness and a cry for help. He pulled something from his pocket, an old rusted
How long have
stapler.
I been recording
The
again?
jingle never ends.
24
But I've got an
minutes.
idea now. I'm gonna make him stop. Before I could move, he lifted the stapler to his ear and clack, drove the first staple through flesh. Blood trickled down his cheek as he laughed louder.
Why would you do
his
that?
eyes never
Why
leaving mine.
would you do that, bro?
Clack. Each squeeze tore his ear
Why?
further, the metallic
Why?
snap echoing in the
That
room.
is extremely
Blood dripped on the
painful.
floor, staining the carpet. His
Is this
laughter
guy
turned
ignoring the
guttural,
pain or something?
unhinged.
Ah,
I screamed, calling out, "Marcus!
you're that
Marcus!"
crazy, you're that
My
psychopath.
voice cracked with terror. At once, the
I
man's
felt
grin
that through my
faltered.
computer
Without
screen.
another word, he bolted, sprinting out the door and down the hall, leaving a trail
Holy.
of blood behind.
This guy's crazy.
I called the police again. This time they found evidence
blood
of
will
forced
be-
entry, scratches around the window lock, and footprints on the fire escape. The man had been coming and going for weeks. As the cops took a good look at the apartment, they found a hidden space inside the walls. There was a dirty mattress with empty cans of beer and plastic wrappers of protein bars piled
This
around.
guy's been living
And under
inside
the
your room.
mattress, there was an
For how
almost faded out
long?
student ID that read
Probably
the
a long
name
time now.
David
For you,
Bowles.
bro.
David was found in the basement, hiding behind sewage pipes. When the cops escorted him out, he was shaking his head and laughing like a maniac. As he walked down the hallway to the cop car parked outside, he kept singing, "Wash, wash, wash your hands, wash them nice and clean. Brush, brush, brush your teeth, brush them every
Bro, this
day.
guy's addicted to
Peekaboo,
Cocomelon that badly that he's
I see you.
literally psych.
Peekaboo, I see
Crazy,
you."
bro.
It was later confirmed that David descended into madness from watching too much Cocomelon. I also did my own research and came to this conclusion. Cocomelon is designed to hijack a toddler's natural attraction to sound, color, and repetition. Basically, it's baby crack, and it can turn you insane too, if you succumb to it. I bought a Labubu.
That was so far the best story of the entire video. 12 stars. 12 stars. That was so far the best story of the entire video. How long have I been recording again? For almost 27 minutes. Basically
Doll
been
for
a
my
while.
niece's birthday.
Yeah.
She's got this obsession with weird toys, the kind that makes most kids scream. She's got this obsession with weird toys, the kind that makes
You clearly, you have never ever heard of Labubu doll on the internet. Otherwise, you will be stupid to buy that doll. If you never have ever hold Labubu and literally the internet, those creepy dolls that literally are possessed, you
creepy
are
stuffed
literally
animals,
stupid to buy
pop-eyed
that thing if you heard of it,
figurines,
bro.
skeleton-shaped plushies. If it's bizarre, she wants it. When I found a limited edition Labubu online,
A Labubu doll limited edition, almost $130 you can buy for nothing, bro. That is nothing. That is nothing. A cute Labubu doll with a signature fur, body large, grinding mouth, and big round eyes.
I thought it was
And
perfect.
this is your
Still,
collection.
when the package arrived,
Okay.
I felt a
okay,
chill just
okay.
looking at it. The doll was small, covered in blue fur that felt greasy when my fingers brushed against it. Its black button eyes were too wide, too shiny. like they were always wet. But the grin was the worst part, stitched from corner to corner, jagged and crooked, like it had been torn across its face. I remember whispering, "Man, this thing is more nightmare fuel than a birthday gift." I wrapped it anyway, set it on the shelf
Hell
in my
yeah, I
living
have to
room
say
and tried
that.
not
Hell
to
yeah.
think about it. But later that night, I couldn't stop. I was scrolling on my phone.
Don't think about it. Wait, go back to that clip. This one right here. Holy moly, chicken filoni. I feel like one of these Hertz clips of the video would just be great for like literally the thumbnail.
Wide, too
You
shiny,
just go back to the clip or
like they were always
for a
wet.
sec, dude.
But the grin
I'll
was
just watch
the
it from
worst
here.
part,
And,
stitched from
pause it,
corner to
yeah.
corner, jagged and crooked, like it had been torn across its face. I remember whispering, "Man, this thing is more nightmare fuel than a birthday gift." I wrapped it anyway, set it on the shelf in my living room and tried not to think about it. But later that night, I couldn't stop. I was
Yo, this, yeah, I have a feeling this might be a good one of these clips might be a good for the literally the thumbnail. Okay, so this might right here. If there's nothing better than this might be a 50% chance be the
scrolling
thumbnail
on my
of the
phone
video.
when I stumbled onto a horror
I mean, well,
forum.
there could be
One
something
post-
else. So yeah. The Labubu doll whisper game. Don't stare at its grin in the dark. If you do, it will call your name at 3 a.m. One of those 3 a.m. videos. If you had a camera, bro, this will probably be one of those
Jumped out
3
at me.
a.m.
The
videos.
Labubu
One of those
whisper
3
game.
a.m. videos.
Don't
Holy
stare at
moly,
its
chicken
grin in the
filoni.
dark. If you do, it'll call your name at 3 a.m. Ridiculous internet garbage. But still, I had the doll right there, wrapped, sitting on the shelf. By 2:50 a.m., I decided to test it.
You stupid bro. You are dumb.
I turned off the lights,
You
sat on
are
the couch,
dumb,
and unwrapped
bro.
the
You are
gift,
dumb for
just
doing
enough
that,
to
bro.
reveal its face. The grin stared back at me, glowing faintly in the moonlight leaking through the blinds. The house was dead quiet, except for the clock ticking on the wall. I stared. Minute after minute passed. My eyelids grew heavy. I was just about to laugh it off when... My breath caught. Someone did whisper in a child's voice. I jumped in fear. I live alone. No way it could be a prank. My pulse blasted in my ears. No way. I'm just imagining it. But then I heard it again.
You're not just imagining it, bro. You're not just imagining it, bro. Ethan.
This time, right by my ear. I shot
Okay,
off
I'll
the
stop.
couch, spinning
Okay,
in
I'll stop.
circles, hands raised like I could fight whatever it was. I even saw a shadow that looked like a bunny running into the living room. I followed it with caution, but there was no one. All I could hear was eerie silence, and the creepy Labubu was staring into my soul. I was wondering whether my mind was playing tricks on me when my phone buzzed. The vibration nearly made me scream. I grabbed it with shaking hands. It was a text from my niece. How weird, I thought
Niece,
before reading
new
it.
text
But
message.
once I opened
Let's see the message. Uncle, I can hear you calling my name. Why are you outside my window? Bro, he is not outside the window, so who the hell is outside her window? He is not outside the window. So who the hell, like, literally the message is, Uncle, I can hear you outside calling my name. Why are you outside my window? Like, he's not outside your window, bro. He's not outside your window. So there's somebody else that
I
looks
was
like
10
him,
times
possessed by the
more
Lubu
scared.
doll, that looks like him
Uncle,
outside your window
I
right
can
now,
hear
bro.
you calling my name. Why are you outside my window?
I looked at the time. It was 3:07 a.m. I felt the blood drain from my face. I hadn't left my living room.
AM,
My
that says
hands
PM.
began trembling. Without wasting a second more, I called my sister. After a few seconds of
That literally
waiting,
says
she
PM, bro.
answered the phone in a groggy and annoyed voice.
What, Ethan?
Listen to me. Do not open the door. Do not open the windows. Go to Trisha's room. Now, please.
What are you?
Damn it, just do it. Please. I held on to the call until my sister reached my niece's room. I heard her opening a door. A few seconds of pause were retained. Then she uttered, confused.
She's asleep. Fine. What the hell is this about?
I didn't answer. I couldn't. I just hung up, grabbed the Labubu, and ran out of the door. The streets were empty as I sped across town, every shadow looking like it was moving. I got to their
Good.
house in record time and rushed
Good.
inside. My niece was curled under her blanket, peaceful, like nothing had happened. My sister demanded an explanation, but I couldn't give her one. I just stood there, staring at my niece's tiny chest, rising and falling, before glancing down at the doll in my arms. Its grin seemed wider now, its glass eyes catching the dim light like they were alive. I knew then I couldn't give it to her. Back home, I carried it straight down to the basement. My hands were shaking as I dragged out an old iron trunk. I dropped the doll inside, the sound of it hitting the bottom echoing in the concrete room. I slammed the lid shut, locked it with the thickest padlock I owned, and then I whispered, "You're not getting out. Ever." For a moment, silence. The basement felt colder and heavier, like the air had stopped moving. Then I heard a cry. The cry sounded like a child who had endured harsh treatment from its parents. The cry grew louder and louder, but I wasn't falling for the trap anymore. The Labubu tried various ways to mold you to its will. Maybe that's why people can't help but submerge themselves in the madness of these toys. I bolted upstairs, slammed the basement door shut, and locked it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night, sitting on my couch with every light blazing, waiting for the sun to come up. By morning, the world looked normal again. The doll was locked away, the whispers were gone, and my niece was safe. But one thing stuck with me. The text is from my niece. It's still on my phone. Thought later, she said she didn't text me anything like that. The whole event from that night is so mysterious. I have a dozen questions, but not a single answer. Is it possible that the doll somehow bewitched me and my niece at the same time? Maybe she did hear my voice, but drifted quickly back to sleep, not knowing some evil spirit controlled her for some time. I'll keep it locked in the trunk in my basement, forever, because I know if it ever gets out, I might not get the chance to walk out of my house alive.
Yeah. I give that a decent 11.8 stars. That was fire. That was fire. Alright. Once again, how long have I been recording for? 36 minutes and
The day
almost
it
37
happened
minutes
started
right
like any
now,
other.
so
I'd driven my van 5 hours deep into the mountains, chasing a spot I'd scouted online. It was a quiet clearing wrapped in tall pine trees. The air was crisp, with cozy monsoon vibes and the soft crackle of campfires nearby. It felt like a hidden gem, perfect for my ASMR channel, which had finally started gaining traction. I pitched my tent and set up fast. I locked the camera in for golden hour as the camp stove crackled to life, exactly what my subscribers eat up. For a while, everything went as planned. The chopping footage was crisp, and the sizzling meat created satisfying crackles. I was already imagining the comments. Then the sun sank, and the coyotes began. The first howl came from maybe half a mile west, followed by an answering one from the north. 10 minutes later, they were howling from every direction, drawing a full circle. I kept filming, trying to play it off as authentic wilderness ambiance, but my instincts screamed danger. Coyotes don't box you in unless they're hunting, or unless something bigger is hunting them. I ducked into my tent to eat and film the final segment, almost desperate to get it over with. The mesh windows gave me a clear view of the darkening forest, while the camera captured every bite. I lifted the first piece of steak,
50
eyes
more
on the
minutes to
lens,
go.
when a sudden
Holy
movement at
moly,
the window
chicken
knocked the
filoni.
air out of my lungs. I turned to look at the window and saw a pair of wide blue eyes staring back at me. Someone was standing in the dark and observing for God knows how long. I only saw the eyes and a patch of forehead, yet I could tell the unknown intruder was smiling at me. I screamed and scrambled back to find something to defend myself, but as I looked again, the man was gone. It was just empty darkness outside my window. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely unzip the tent. Somehow, I made it into the van and slammed the car door shut. For a while, nothing happened. Everything was so still. I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it all. It could be fatigue, or maybe just the mountain and forest playing tricks on my mind. 5 to 7 minutes passed. No suspicious event occurred. But suddenly, the passenger side door handle rattled. "Evening, beautiful." Someone spoke in a masculine voice from outside, with this weird cheerful tone that made my skin crawl. I loved your ASMRs and the aesthetics. The handle rattled more aggressively. "I've been watching you for months," he said, circling the van. "Those location tags are literally lifesavers."
Who are you?
I
For months,
stuttered.
no
loyal
more
follower,"
fans
he
would just
murmured, his
stalk
voice
people
shifting
like this,
closer.
bro.
"I drove 6 hours for you."
6 hours just for a YouTuber, wow.
"The least you can do is
6
come out and say
hours
hi.
just for
Maybe
a
give a little
YouTuber,
autograph."
wow.
I
Just
tried to
wow.
start the engine, but it rumbled twice and then died. He tapped on the window. "Oh, sorry, but I kind of messed up your car. Hope you don't mind."
Are you nuts?
He planted his face on the glass window and murmured, "You know, you're even prettier up close. I couldn't waste a chance like this. I even brought my own camera. How about we film a video together?" I was terrified, but managed to stay calm. He wants me to be scared, but I won't let him take the upper hand.
No,
I
hell
screamed
no.
back.
You
Hell
think I
no.
haven't dealt with worse than
Hell
you?
no.
Stick around, I'll let
no.
the cops
Say
handle what's
no.
left.
Say
He
no.
paused for a
Say
second,
no.
then
Say no.
climbed onto the
Say
roof.
no.
The van rocked under his weight. I tried
Thank
the
you,
engine
exactly,
again.
Rowan.
It just won't work.
Exactly.
He started jumping on the van, yelling like a mad hound. To make it worse, the weather got rough. It started drizzling before a total downpour took over. Through the streaming windows, I caught glimpses of him jumping down, circling the van like a vulture. I dialed 911 and told the operator about my whereabouts, secretly hoping they'll reach me before this crazy psycho does. "Rain makes everything more dramatic." He laughed, pressing his face against my window. His shirt was gone. His pale skin was gleaming wet. He started licking the window.
How did he
And
get
trust me,
shirtless so
I've
fast,
never
bro?
seen such a big tongue. I tried the ignition again, but the engine was completely dead. Through the rain, I saw him hefting a rock the size of a bowling ball. He moved toward the back of the van, toward the rear window. Panic flooded my system. I must get away now. I raked my
He's
eyes
trying
all
to get
over
in.
the place.
He is
The heavy
trying to
rain had
get
stolen
in.
nearly all
He is trying to
visibility,
get in,
but it
bro.
had made
He's
the
trying to
ground
get in.
slippery, and my van was parked on a slope. My hand shot to the parking brake. If I could just... The rock smashed through the rear window. Glass exploded everywhere as his arm reached through the jagged opening, reaching for me. I yanked the parking brake. The van lurched forward, rolling down the incline. He screamed as the momentum ripped his arm back through the broken glass.
Yeah.
My arm! You witch! I needed to go faster. I pumped the brake pedal to steer around the trees, the van sliding wildly down the slope. Through the mirrors, I saw him chasing after me, blood streaming down my arm. The van hit level ground, and I slammed the ignition again. This time, the engine caught. I floored it without looking back and didn't stop until I reached the nearby town. The man's name was Daryl Rothborn, and he was caught 3 days later at another campground 50 miles south. Turns out he's been running this stuff for over a year now, targeting young women who posted their locations online. He got life without parole. I quit YouTube, deleted everything, but I still wake up
You're a creep.
sweat-soaked,
You're a
knowing
creep
that
for
somewhere
doing
out there,
young girls,
more
bro. You're a
psychos
creep.
like him
You're a
exist.
creep, bro. You're a creep. You're a creep. You're a creep, bro. You're a creep. You're a creep. That one was a decent, maybe a 10, I would say.
I needed the money.
10.3
That's the only
stars.
reason I took the night
Okay,
cleaning job at
decent,
the old Freddy
decent,
Fazbear's
decent.
location on Elm Street. The place has been shut down since the mid-90s after some tragedy nobody in town wants to discuss. Kids went missing. or
Freddy
so the
Fazbear.
rumors
Freddy
went.
Fazbear, bro.
The owner, a property management company, just wanted someone to keep it from falling apart completely while they figured out what to do with it. $12 an hour to mop floors and dust off 20-year-old pizza grease seemed easy money for a guy between jobs. It was my first night and I was somewhat cynical. The place was huge and smelled like mold and rancid cooking oil,
Not bad.
but
Not bad.
I'd worked worse gigs. So those faded murals of cartoon animals that still covered the walls, their paint peeling away in long strips, didn't creep me out much. Neither did the old arcade machines that sat dark and silent, with screens cracked or entirely missing. What got to me was the stage. 3 animatronics stood there like broken mannequins, a bear, a rabbit, and a chicken. Some had
Freddy, I
stripped
don't know
most of their
what
fur
is
years
Chucky
ago,
or something? I
leaving
don't know, I forgot
exposed
about
metal endoskeletons with wires spilling out like guts. Their glass eyes reflected my flashlight beam whenever I walked past, and each time it was an effort not to stop and stare. The clock had struck 12 p.m. I was mopping near the stage when I heard the faint, mechanical clapping echoing from somewhere in the building. I instantly stopped and listened, but the sound had already faded. The building hadn't had power in years. The electrical company had disconnected everything after the place closed. But as I stood there in the dark, the stage lights suddenly flickered on for maybe 2 seconds before dying again. In that brief moment of light, I saw the bear's jaw twitch open. "Welcome back, kids," came a voice from the speaker. In that brief moment of light, I saw the bear's jaw twitch open. "Welcome back, kids," came a voice from the speaker.
The place has no power. The place has no power, by the way. It has no power, by the way. So how the hell did Freddy Fazbear literally move? How the hell did Freddy Fazbear literally move? The entire place had no power. No power, by the way. No power. No power.
My body was telling me to run, but I forced myself to think rationally. It's an old building, dude. I reassured myself. Maybe it was some residual power in a backup battery somewhere. The animatronics were probably motion activated, responding to my movements. I nodded to myself. It made sense. But as I bent to pick up the mop, those faint giggles made my skin crawl. It started soft, like an echo from another room, but grew louder until it filled the entire building. It felt like I was standing at a kid's birthday party, but there were no kids. The building was empty, except for me. I ran for the front entrance, fumbling with my keys as the laughter continued. But when I reached the doors, I found heavy chains wrapped around the handles. I hadn't noticed them when I came in. Maybe someone locked them after I started. "Hey!" I called out, pounding on the door. Behind me, the stage light surged brighter, and this time it stayed on. I watched in horror at those deflated balloons hanging from the ceiling. The tables in the dining area had paper plates and cups scattered across them, as if kids had just finished eating. The dining room had been empty minutes ago. Now every table was full. Pale children across them, as if kids had just finished eating. The dining room had been empty minutes ago. Now every table was full. Pale children.
These are all either dead or missing kids. Yo, these look like freaking dead kids or missing kids. Like, look at her eyes. Look at his eyes. You can tell. Look at his eyes. Look at her eyes, bro. Look at his eyes, bro. You can literally tell by the way they're looking, by the way their eyes are, and everything. By the way how pale their skin. Okay, their skin's
looked like they came from decades ago. All of them had this wide grin on their faces, screaming, "Run!" "Get him! Get him! Get him!" They cheered. Suddenly, grinding metal filled the air as the 3 animatronics stepped down from the stage. Their movements were jerky and unnatural, servos winding with each step, wires dragged behind them like intestines. The bear spoke first. "It's time for the show!" I backed toward the kitchen, looking for another exit, but found myself trapped between the dining room and a wall of stainless steel equipment. The animatronics advanced slowly. Their glass eyes never left my face.
Don't you want to stay for the fun?
The rabbit asked, its head tilted at an impossible angle. The children at the table began to giggle again. They even clapped in joy like my fear amused them. I grabbed a heavy meat cleaver from the prep station and held it out in front of me.
Stay back!
The chicken animatronic lunged first, moving faster than anything that Broken should have been able to. Its metal claws raked against my forearm, tearing through my jacket into my skin. I swung the cleaver and connected with its neck joint, sending sparks flying as wires severed. It kept coming. The bear grabbed my shoulders with hands that felt like steel vices. I could smell motor oil and decay as it pulled me close to its ruined face. "You can't leave," it whispered. "No one ever leaves." I drove the cleaver into its chest, hitting something vital. The animatronic convulsed and released me as black fluid sprayed from its damaged components. I ran through the kitchen toward what I hoped was a back exit. The rabbit's footsteps pounded behind me. I found a door marked emergency exit and threw my full weight against it. It opened into an alley behind the building. I didn't stop running until I reached my car 3 blocks away. I tried explaining everything to the company once. They said I was hallucinating from stress. The building burned down 2 months later. They blamed faulty wiring, but the place hadn't had power in years. Sometimes I drive past the empty lot where Freddy Fazbear's used to stand. There's nothing there now except charred concrete and weeds. But on quiet nights, if I roll down my windows, I swear I can still hear children laughing in the distance. Some jobs aren't worth the money, and some places should stay closed forever. I swear I can still hear children laughing in the distance. Some jobs aren't. I was grounded on Halloween night because I had forgotten to take out the trash for 3 weeks straight, which felt like the worst
11
punishment
stars.
in the world when you're 10 years
Let's go.
old.
No costume, no candy, or leaving this house, Tristan. Maybe next year you'll be more responsible.
Mom warned. So, I sat by my window, listening to groups of kids laughing and running down our street. By 10, the house was quiet.
Got it.
Mom and Dad had gone to bed early, probably exhausted. That's when I made the stupidest decision of my life. I grabbed my vampire costume from the closet, found an old pillowcase, and snuck out through the back door. The street was mostly empty now, except for a few teenagers heading home, but some neighbors were still answering their doors. I actually managed to collect a decent amount of candy,
alone.
feeling pretty proud of myself for pulling off the great escape. I was heading back home when I decided to take a shortcut through Willow Park. It was this old playground that the city kept meaning to update but never did. During the day, it was fine, but at night, it felt like a graveyard with rusted swings creaking in the wind and broken streetlights casting weird shadows. That's where I saw her. She was sitting on one of the swings, rocking slowly back and forth, donning an old wedding dress, but it was torn and dirty, like she'd been dragging it through mud. Her long black hair hung down over her face, and she was humming under her breath. I stopped walking, trying to make out the words. It sounded like a nursery rhyme intentionally sung off key.
Ring around the road.
Under her breath. I stopped walking, trying to make out the words. It sounded like a nursery rhyme intentionally sung off key.
Round the rosy, a pocket's full of rosy. Ashes, ashes, we all fell down.
We all fall down.
Something about the way she sang it made my skin crawl. It wasn't playful like when kids sing it. It sounded...
We all fall down. Holy
It's
moly,
sad and
chicken
angry at the same
bologna.
time. I should have
It was
turned
more like-
around and found another way home.
It was more like
Every instinct I
creepy
had
and
was telling me
sad,
to get
like,
out of there.
you know what I'm saying? Like
But I was
creepy
10,
and sad.
stupid, and curious. I dragged my feet
Exactly,
close.
exactly.
Turned around and found another way home. Every instinct I had was telling me to get out of there.
You are dumb, bro. That is like literally the stupidest thing you have ever could literally do. That is the most stupidest thing you could literally do. Like, if there was
Just
like
then,
literally
the
a
swing
possessed
stopped
doll,
moving.
for example,
It
or a possessed
halted like
woman,
someone had grabbed
what
the
you don't do
chains,
is
defying
go
every
closer
law
to it.
of physics
She
I'd
can
later
get
know.
you.
Slowly, the woman lifted her head and looked right at me. I'll never forget her face until my last breath. Her skin was pale and mottled. I'd later know. Slowly, the woman lifted her head and looked right at me. I'll never forget her like meat that had been left out too long, but it was her eyes that made me want to scream.
Maybe this will
She
make a good thumbnail,
smiled
bro.
really big.
Maybe this
Come
this
here,
might
little
make a
boy.
good video thumbnail. Maybe.
Come play with Sarah. Sarah's been so lonely.
I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were made of concrete. She started to stand up from the swing, and that's when I saw the rest of her.
Don't be
The wedding
stupid and go
dress was
closer,
stained
bro.
crimson, and there was a rope burn around her neck like someone had tried to hang her.
I said, come here.
She hissed, agitated. The evident fury bounced across the playground and smacked right through my bones. That broke whatever spell had frozen me in place. I sprinted faster than I'd ever run in my entire life, hearing her giggles
Don't listen
right by
and just
my
run.
ears.
Just
the
run.
pillowcase was
Just
long
run.
forgotten. I made it home in record time, slipping back through the rear door and up to my room without
Thank
waking
you,
my
finally.
parents. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might explode. I changed out of my costume and got into bed, pulling the covers over my head. Maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe it was just some hobo who'd wandered into the park and my 10-year-old brain had turned her into a monster. But the singing, I heard the singing crystal clear, and I was hearing it again. It was just some hobo who'd wandered into the park and my 10-year-old brain had turned her into a monster. But the singing, I heard the singing crystal clear, and I was hearing it again.
Ring around the rosy,
Ring
a
around
pocket's
the
full of
rosy,
rosy. Ashes,
pocket full of
ashes, we all
posies.
fall
I peeked
down.
over my blanket and
Wow.
nearly wet myself. She was there, pressed against the window,
Around,
staring at me with those horrible eyes. Her face was squished against the glass. Her black hair was spread out like spider legs.
Ashes, we all fall down. Okay, I'll stop.
We all
stop.
fall down.
She sang, grinning, looking me straight in the eye. I tried to scream for my
Ashes.
parents, but no sound
Okay,
would come out.
ashes.
I could only lie
We
there,
all
trembling like a leaf, while she hummed that
down.
rhyme over and over again. Each time her
Shaking
fingernails
slowly.
scraped against the glass, I'd flinch, whimper, and sob. This went on for hours. Every time I thought she left, I'd hear that scratchy voice again.
Ring around the rosy.
The worst part was that my bedroom was on the second floor. There was no tree outside my window or anything else that could remotely explain a climb, but she was right there, lurking and giggling. Exhaustion might have taken
I'll
over
stop for real.
somewhere, because
I'll
the
stop for
next
real.
thing I
I'll stop
knew,
for real.
sunlight was streaming through my window, and my alarm was going off. For a few seconds, I thought it had all been a nightmare, the worst nightmare of my life, but still a dream. Then I saw it. Stuck in the corner of my window frame was a piece of dirty white fabric. When I opened the window to get a better look, I realized it was a piece of wedding veil, old and
It was
yellowed,
real,
with dark
bro.
stains
It
that
was
looked
real. It was
suspiciously
not
like
a
dried
nightmare,
blood.
bro. It was real.
I never told
it
my
was
parents
real.
about that night. I was too terrified and confused. They would have thought I was making up stories to get out of being grounded anyway. I found out later from my friend's older brother that a woman had killed herself in Willow Park about 10 years ago. She'd been left at the altar by her fiancé and couldn't handle the humiliation. They found her hanging from the swing set, still wearing her wedding dress. Her name was Sarah Mitchell, and according to the newspaper articles, she'd been dead for days before anyone found her. I never
Bro, why
took
did
that
she kill
shortcut to the
herself,
park
though?
again. Even now, I drive the long way rather than pass by those swings. And according to the newspaper articles, she'd been dead for days before anyone found her. I never took that shortcut through the park again. Even Now I drive the long way rather than pass by those swings.
That was 12 stars, dude. 12 stars, dude. That's freaky. How long have I been recording? For
Kyle dragged me to
almost
this
an
Halloween
hour right
party
now,
against my will,
basically.
even when he
Let's
knew
just
how
finish
much I
this.
hated
Holy
parties,
crap.
crowds, and
We
all
still
that
got
pretending.
33 minutes to go.
Julia's gonna be there,
33
he said
minutes to
with
go.
this wink as he walked over.
This is a
My
long
stomach
video to make.
dropped. Why the hell would you tell me that now? Come on, man, she's cute and obviously into you. Into me was putting it lightly. Julia had been stalking me for months. It started when I made the mistake. Why the hell would you tell me that now? Come on, man, she's cute and obviously into you. Into me was putting it lightly. Julia had been stalking me for months. It started when I made the mistake.
That's just freaky. Like, come on, bro. Invasion of privacy. Like, why would you stalk
Of
someone?
being polite
I mean,
to
I
her
get
at
the
a
fact that you
Starbucks.
like him, but that
Next thing I
still
know,
doesn't mean
she's
it's
showing
not
up
creepy
everywhere
to
I go
not to
and leave
stalk
this
them, bro.
creepy
Like,
stuff
bro,
behind.
why would you
Dead
stalk
birds
them?
wrapped
Just
in black
why?
cloth,
Why?
jars
Why?
filled with dirt and
Why?
hair. When I told her to back off, she just smiled and
6,
said she'd come
7.
around once the moon was right. Where I go and leave this creepy stuff behind. Dead birds wrapped in black cloth, jars filled with dirt and hair. When I told her to back on, she just smiled and said she'd come around once the
Bro, you look ugly. You're so freaking ugly and old.
The girl was
You're pretty
totally
ugly,
unhinged, but I
You're pretty
couldn't let her
ugly,
dictate
dude.
my life.
Like,
I told myself
just,
I'd enjoy the
you look
party,
old too, bro.
and I
Not
did,
just ugly, but also
until I
very
saw
old,
her
bro.
again.
No
She was
offense, no
across the
offense,
room,
no offense.
dressed
Taken,
like Aunt Gladys from the movie Weapons. She had makeup that looked like skin rotten in place. It was gray, cracked, and clung to bone. Her eyes were sunken deep, and she had put red contacts on that glowed like coals under the dim light. Stringy hair hung down her shoulders, and I wasn't sure if it was a wig, and her red lipstick was smudged on the corners of her lips. I tried to ignore her, engaging in conversations with other people, but I still could feel her eyes on me wherever I went. At around midnight, she cornered me by the kitchen.
Dance with me, Eric.
She purred in this raspy voice. Just stay away.
You can't fight what's meant to be.
You're crazy. Get help. She scrunched her nose, but backed away. I could see her lips curl in this raspy voice. Just stay away. Moving like she was muttering to herself. I didn't stick
She is
around.
crazy.
Kyle
She
was
is
too
crazy.
drunk to
She
notice,
is
so I
crazy.
slipped out quietly and
She
headed home
literally
alone.
is
3
crazy.
blocks from my
She is
apartment,
crazy.
the
I'm
street
crazy for
light
me in
ahead
such a long
started
video. I'm sorry.
flickering. I brushed it off and kept walking.
Am I crazy? Oh.
But just as I turned the corner, there she was, still in that Aunt Gladys costume with same rotting
Bro.
makeup and stringy hair. But instead
So
of the
like
red
again.
contacts, now her eyes were pitch black. Not just the
Oh,
pupils,
never mind.
the whole thing. She was, still in that Aunt Gladys costume with same rotting makeup. Like someone had poured ink into them.
We need to finish this.
She said, "There's nothing to finish. Leave me
You
alone."
just look even
I
worse.
tried to walk past her, but she grabbed my wrist.
Worse now.
Her skin was
What
ice
the hell is
cold,
going on
and her
with you,
grip
bro?
was strong enough to bruise.
You don't get to choose.
She hissed. Before I could react, she lunged forward and grabbed a fistful of my hair. Pain shot through my scalp as she yanked hard enough to rip strands out by the roots. Hey! What the heck are you doing? She pulled out this twisted piece of wood covered in thorns and started wrapping my hair around it, chanting in some language I didn't recognize. Her voice got deeper with each word, like something else was speaking through her.
You're mine, Eric.
She whispered, her breath hot against my ear.
Body and soul.
The twigs started getting warm near my chin before it burned hot. She snapped it in half while still chanting, and I swear the air around us got thick. "You're insane!" I screamed, finally managing to shove her away. She stumbled but didn't fall. "I would rather die than be with you," I yelled.
That can be arranged.
She giggled as she came at me with the broken twig, thorns aimed at my eyes. I immediately bolted down the street, my sneakers pounding against the concrete. Behind me, I could hear her feet hitting the pavement, but she wasn't running footsteps. Instead, I could hear this weird skipping rhythm, like she was dancing. I glanced back and immediately wish I hadn't. She was moving wrong. Her arms were swinging too loose, and her head had tilted at an angle that should have hurt her neck, but she was gaining on me. I cut through an alley, jumping over trash bags and dodging dumpsters. My lungs were burning, but I could still hear that sick skipping and giggling getting closer. When I looked back, she was maybe 10 feet behind me, grinning that horrible stretched smile.
Eric! You can't run forever!
She squealed. I burst out of the alley and onto the main street. My building was still 2 blocks away. My legs were cramping up, but every time I slowed down even slightly, I'd hear that skipping and chanting getting closer. At the corner, I glanced back. Julia was just a few feet away. Her palms were reaching out to me, and I could feel the heat of her body mingling with mine. Before she could grab me, I shoved an elbow into her ribs, hard. I felt her stumble back, heard a crack, but didn't look twice. I bolted, sprinting down the block like my life depended on it. Maybe it did. I made it to my building and slammed the door behind me, throwing every lock we had. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see Aunt Gladys smiling at me. The next morning, Kyle gave me the news. They'd found Julia unconscious on the sidewalk around 3 a.m. with a severe head injury. She was in the hospital, but couldn't remember anything, not even her name or where she lived.
The weird thing is,
Kyle said,
there was all this hair scattered around where they found her, human hair, and some kind of burned wood.
I touched the sore spot on my scalp where she'd ripped out my hair. The doctors said Julia's memory loss might be permanent. Part of me feels bad about pushing her, but mostly I was relieved. If she couldn't remember me, maybe the nightmare is over. I touched the sore spot on my scalp where she'd ripped out my hair. The doctors said Julia's memory loss might be permanent. Part of me feels bad about pushing her. I should have noticed the red flags when she refused to let me sign that roommate agreement in anything but green ink. Even so, I was desperate for a place near campus, and Vera seemed normal enough during our brief coffee shop meeting.
9 stars. 9 stars.
The apartment was exactly what I was looking for. In a week, I moved in. The first morning, I woke up to this weird, rhythmic sound coming from the kitchen. Whisk, whisk, whisk. I stumbled out in my pajamas, expecting to find her making pancakes or something. Instead, Vera stood at the counter in complete silence, whisking green powder in a ceramic bowl with surgical precision. I watched her count under her breath.
78, 79, 80.
Before she lifted the bowl with both hands, bowed her head like she was praying, and took one tiny sip.
Morning ritual.
She giggled when she noticed me staring.
Matcha helps me wake up.
I laughed it off and went back to my room to continue my revisions. By 9, things got stranger. I stepped out of my room to find my coffee maker unplugged and shoved into the back of a cabinet.
Oh, that thing?
Vera said when I asked.
I moved it. The smell was interfering with my matcha practice.
Interfering? How?
She paused, holding her matcha whisk like it was sacred.
Coffee creates chaos in the mind. Matcha brings clarity.
I plugged the machine back in and made my usual mid-morning cup. Vera watched me from across the kitchen, her eyes tracking every movement. When I took a sip, she visibly flinched. The next time I took a break and stepped out, she had 2 bowls out.
I made extra this time.
She said, extending one toward me. The liquid was this unnatural bright green, almost glowing. When I took a sip, she visibly flinched. The next time I took a break and stepped out, she had 2 bowls out.
I made extra this time.
She said, extending one toward me. The liquid was this unnatural bright green, almost...
Alright, you know what? I know the story's not over, and basically we still got 27 minutes left. But I've been recording for like literally the past 1 hour and 8 minutes. So I'm just gonna end the video over here. It's getting a long video. So basically, make sure to like and subscribe. It's extremely long video, so yeah, make sure to like and subscribe.